Hey guys, welcome back on the Butcher's channel, and I'm very excited to present you a whole new chapter of these videos. We're going to talk about gambits. For tonight I just prepared Traxler Gambit for you. What's the Traxler Gambit and how does it appear? So after e4, when you play with the black piece is e5, and you know what? This is like a very good moment to immediately tell to most of you guys, like guys from 1200 to 2200. This is like a lesson for all of you, especially lower rated guys. Why? Because most of you play symmetrical. After e4, you just go with e5. So what's so special? After you play for e5, they go knight f3. And then you go, once again, they defend the pawn on c6. So you guys all know for the knight c6. And when they play bishop c4, I massively, kept seeing like reactions with h6 to stop some knight g5 and to be able to play knight f6 afterwards. Then I know lots of guys who are afraid to play knight f6 because of knight g5, and they're so afraid to face this move that they first move bishop e7, playing the Hungarian variation. Even in these lectures and in these videos, I'm going to talk about these variations, but those videos and those times will come. At the moment, let's just focus on playing the best variation with black. Not only that I'm going to teach you to play best, but I'm going to teach you to play hyper tactical, aggressive, with with lots of analysis, and I'll teach you to play knight f6. And I know like all of you who are just around like 1100, 1200, 1300, all of you guys are so much afraid of knight g5. And here you all know that the d5 should be the main move, but I'm not going to teach you that one. Look at this knight on g5, all together with the bishop on f7, they just threaten this pawn on f7. So what are we gonna go for? Bishop c5. Believe it or not, you pretend like nothing happens and you just play bishop c5. Looks crazy. You just want to complete your development. You actually go after the f2 weakness if they can go. So what's the moral of the story here? If they can go after the f7 pawn, you can go after the f2 pawn. I just want to tell you one last thing before I start playing the moves. It is going to solve most of your opening problems, and it's going to be very attractive because it's full of tactics and analysis. But from another point of view, it's also difficult because it's full of difficult tactics and difficult analysis. Of course, at one point, I'm just going to publish all those PGN'S about this lecture, about this video, and about previous videos on my site, www.bigmaya.com. So, welcome on the new site. Thank you for that. And once again, very soon, I'm going to publish out all my PGNs, so you'll be able to download them for free. That's a good thing, and that's a good news for you. And let's get started. After bishop c5, that's a quite shocking reaction because most of your opponent will think this guy's complete patzer. Let me just have like a sweet problems. Should they take by bishop, give check, or do the fork with the knight f7? Believe it or not, bishop f7 is way better than knight f7. I just want to tell you, for those who smell that something is wrong and they just go, for example, with a castle, you just make castle, you defend your pawn on f7, you want to kick this knight away with h6, and nothing seems to be working for white anymore. So it's like going into the fight and then just saying like, man, I surrender, I don't want to fight against you. So this is not gonna work for white like this. After, for example, they just try to complete development, you play d5, opening up the light square bishop, fighting in the center, and after e takes d5, you play bishop g4. Afterward, they can play f3, taking advantage of this bishop on c5. You want to capture by knight on d5, kick this knight away with h6, play rook e8, and black looks awesome. Instead of this castle, let's have a look at probably most logical knight f7. I guarantee if you play Traxler Gambit, like 85% of players will play knight f7. Even on my level, I would expect people to play knight f7 rather than bishop f7. And the knight f7, queen is hanging, rook is hanging on h8 as well, and first shocking reaction, bishop takes f2. This is what I like about this gambit. It's full of tactics, it's full of crazy options for black, and it's never easy for white. I actually know so many good players who got trapped into these variations and lost their games very easily with white. So that's why I'm saying this video is for you guys who are just low rated, but also for even 2000 guys who just want to learn something new and like apply these variations in practice. After king f1 seems to be the best according to the theory, but let's take a look at a king f2. You just take on e4, attacking the king and opening up the queen to go on h4. Literally, there is only one move for white. It's king g1. Apart from king g1, there are like a bunch of other moves, and let's just check them out briefly. So if king f1, let's just go with the worst one. If king e2, you go knight e4 check. If king d3, you just go knight f2 and win the queen. If king e3, you just go queen h4, threatening queen f2 or queen f4 with mate soon. So after g3, knight takes, h takes, queen g3, king e4, and this is why I told you this is going to be a funny lesson, d5, you just go after this king. If bishop takes, you just deliver this checkmate. If king takes, you can have fun at home, practice how to mate this guy, but there are like so many options here for black. If king f3, you just go check, king takes, you just go check, king goes here, and by the way, if king goes here, queen d4 is checkmate. If king d3, you just can stop the video, pause for a moment, and try to find tactics for black. At the moment, you're down 2 pieces, but it's not enough. White cannot defend himself. I guess you could have found the move. It's d5. d5 opens up the light square bishop, threatens queen d4 followed by bishop g4, threatens bishop f5 and mate. I can see mate on the horizon. So after bishop d4, check, this one, take on d5. You now want to, first of all, you got a piece back, you're threatening the knight, you threaten bishop g4, knight d4, even in some variations queen e4, it's completely winning. So we've seen that king e2 and king f3 cannot work. If they play king f1, so once again, we're in a moment where we sack the bishop, play knight e4, and we're just checking these side, very suspicious variations for white if they don't play king g1. If they play like king f1, doesn't help them either. You play queen h4, threatening mate in 1. When they play like, by the way, they can't play queen e2, for example, because in the worst case scenario, you can play knight g3, winning the rook, but I don't want to play that. I actually want to go with knight d4, chasing this queen away and keep threatening this mate on f2. If the queen comes here, we can just go knight c2 and having like so many threats. I can go sometimes rook f8, d5 to open up the bishop, and it's mate. That's why I'm telling you, if you're just like a low-rated player, you have to be great at tactics. Or if you don't have like such a high tactical skills, at least check out this video and try to learn and remember these lines. So after king f1, queen h4, they go queen e1, you go knight g3. I like this one a lot. Looks like you want to win the rook. No, you're not interested in rook. Actually, looks like you're going to lose the knight. So they take here, but Mr. Bishop on c4 is lost. And after king e1, queen takes f7. You're up a pawn. Don't forget, king was moved, so they cannot make castle any longer. And you just want to play d5, knight d4 with full initiative. We also want to make the short castle afterwards. Black is winning. And finally, we're coming to the point where they play king e3. I saw this move in many games. So when you play queen h4, people naturally realize that you want to play queen f4 with lots of tactics there. By the way, don't worry, they can't take, for example, here, because you give check, and if they go here, you give check, and if they go here, you deliver this very nice checkmate. If they immediately go king e2, you just go with similar reasons. You can give check here, you can give check here, you have so many possibilities. You can even have d5 followed by bishop g4, all these options. So after like king e3, queen h4, in my opinion, they have two moves, queen f3 or g3. If they go with queen f3, you just go knight f6. What a top class move. That's why I'm telling you, sometimes finding these moves is even difficult for good players, because this knight f6 is extremely difficult because you retreat your knight instead of like coming up with some checks and maybe trying to mate this king on the spot. No, it's not going to work like this. You play knight f6 and now you threaten this bishop. Of course, eventually you're going to threaten the knight on f7. You threaten some queen d4, check this king, and by the way, you also have like knight g4, knight d4 threats. So when they, for example, if they play bishop e3, check, that's one thing. King cannot come to e2 because of knight d4, and you win the queen. If king to d3, you go knight f2. What a nasty check, and after this one, d5. You now open up this bishop. By the way, you just have to keep the presence of, let's just say, tactical spirit all the time here. For example, if they take, this is checkmate. If they, for example, go with king e2, you have fork, knight d4. If they take the rook on h8, I can play knight g4 here, and you can go here because of famous fork. But if they go with king to d3, now you see the point of d5, we just do the fork for the queen. So they can't get away from all these tactics all this time. And you know what? Most logical here would be probably to go all in and to take this rook on h8. Then you go knight d4. For example, this is another top class move. You go knight d4, you threaten the queen, you don't want to take the bishop on d4, you don't want to come up with check, you don't want to play knight g4, but knight d4. And when they play queen f1, you play d5. At the moment, count the number of pieces on the board. It's crazy, but you're winning. And once again, I'll repeat it again, this video is for absolutely everyone. And I believe you guys, low-rated guys, will have like so many nice and easy wins against weaker guys. And you higher-rated guys, you can learn a lot. But just like I said, you have to learn these tactical patterns and to learn these analysis almost by heart. And let's go for the king g1. King g1, literally the only move. By the way, I once again want to repeat, and don't forget about that. You have two type of variations where you just have to learn plans and to play chess and this type of lines. For example, here you play Traxler Gambit and you simply have to know your lines and variations by heart. I don't like teaching my students to play like that. I actually detest that. I'm probably one of the biggest fighters against that. Let's just learn like variations by heart, and that's simply to play chess like that. It doesn't work like that, but in this case it's necessary. So after king g1, queen h4, threatening mate in 1. They have to play g3. Queen e2, we just play knight d4, and we just involve another piece into that. After g3, knight g3, another piece sack. And now they can take on g3, they can take on h8. If they take on g3, check this one, you go rook f8. Who would say, but after this move, you have all prospects to play this game and a win. When they play knight c3, another classic move in this variation, you, for the sake of activity of the light square bishop, you play d5. Bishop d5, bishop h3, rook takes, and king g1. They can play bishop g2 because now you would involve this rook into attack, taking the knight. King g1, this check, bishop g2. Bishop g2, you play rook takes f7, knight e4, and queen g6. This is one of the computer positions that I analyzed up to this moment. They moved the king. There are no pawns around the king. King is very weak. We're going to make the long castle, play rook f4, rook g4, threatening this knight on e4 as well. Have a possibility to evolve knight on d4, one more piece into attack, so black looks just better. In case, when we play knight g3, they take on h8, we just go with knight d4, and this was one of those crazy tactical, difficult moves. So you just involve another piece into attack. We would like to move this knight back to e4 and threaten mate on f2. That, even though they're up a rook and a piece, almost unstoppable. I know that for most of you will be very difficult to understand and accept the fact that you have to play down a rook and a piece, but relax, take it easy. Just learn this, check this video carefully, and you won't have any problems. After h takes, queen takes, I'm showing you the best line for white. King f1 and queen f4, perpetual check. So they took all these pieces for free and nothing. They can't do anything more than draw. So we've seen all these variations. I showed you all these things, and just because of this, when you sack on f2, in my opinion, the best variation is king f1. Then you play queen e7, of course. What else? And they play knight h8. And at the moment, we're down a rook. But what is rook in this variation and this gambit for us right now? Usually we're down rook and two pieces. So you now play d5. It's a very nice trick for all of you. If the bishop takes d5, we can stop the video and I can give you task, find a move for black. Hope you found it. It's bishop g4, the queen is trapped. That's a very nice trick and goes along well and successfully with this d5. That's what I like. After d5, they have to take by pawn, just because of the previous variation that I showed you. You play knight d4. This knight d4 jump looks very typical in this position. Once again, you threaten bishop g4 to trap the lady on d1. They go c3. Here I analyze this position very carefully and very seriously, and it's very, very difficult for white to hold a balance. So if king takes on f2, which in my opinion is the worst, knight g4. If king e1, you just play this, threatening mate. Rook f1, you go here now, and when they play like this, you now wanna take on g3 and win the game. Very nice move, queen f6, to provoke weakening of the h2 pawn. So when the rook goes here, now you go with check. If the king goes to g1, you play queen c5, threatening this bishop on c4, and threatening, of course, discovery with knight f3, with knight e2, with knight c2 to win the rook if you want. But of course, you want to checkmate this guy with knight f3, queen f2. That's why they can't touch this bishop. They cannot touch the bishop. It's funny, you're threatening bishop g4 to trap the queen, you're down a rook, and they can't touch the bishop on f2. h3 was played by many guys, and I found like more than 50 tournament games played here. And here I analyzed this and came up with this conclusion. We don't have any more knight g4 when they take the f2, so we have to move it. Now we want to play knight f5 or knight e4 to involve one more knight into the attack. For example, if they play d3, which looks unbelievably logical here, you have to admit. Let's go, stop the video and find the tactics. The move is knight g4. The move is knight g4. You want to go with queen f6 here, check, and you want to go after this king. If they take, you go queen f6, and mate is coming. If they play d6, to be able to save the knight, or maybe just destabilize this king with some bishop f7, you go queen f6 with mates. They literally have no other move after h3, bishop h4, but c3. When they play c3, we play knight f5. And now I want to jump here, but I'm not interested in jumping on g3 just to take the rook on h1. it is not going to satisfy us. Don't forget, we're down a rook. And if you jump on g3 and just take the rook on h1, you're just going to be down an exchange. So be very careful if you want to choose this variation and to play with the black pieces. It's so aggressive, so tactical. At first glance, it looks terrific, but it's very difficult because you have to find all these tactics and these, in most of these variations, unexpected lines and moves. And when they play d4 to open this bishop on c1, you, believe it or not, play bishop d7. You want to play long castle. You want to win this knight afterwards. You would like to involve this rook from a8 to f8, going after the king on f1. Smart idea. And finally, once again, I have to remind you about which variation we're talking about, because this is like so difficult. So we're talking about Traxler Gambit with bishop c5. When they take knight on f7, when they do the fork, we sack another piece. So after king f1, and you play queen e7. And when they take on h8, you play d5. And when they take on d5, you play knight d4, threatening bishop g4. And right now, I just want to show you the last move here. It's c3. Showing you a game between FIDE master who hit white pieces and Grandmaster Shirov played in Ukraine 2002. The guy played bishop g4. Queen went on a4. The guy played knight d7, threatening this queen to go on f6 or f8. If c takes, queen f6, and mate is coming after this beautiful queen f4 move. Once again, unbelievably hard move, but gives you an open check afterwards with bishop e3, and the mate is coming. That's why king f2 played this FIDE master. Grandmaster went for queen h4. Don't forget, if this one, just check bishop f1 and this nice mate. If they go with like king f1, you go long castle. That happened in the game, and after this rook f8. Threatens rook takes f7. He just went with g3, bishop h3, king g1, and queen e4. Can you imagine being a FIDE master, having white pieces and losing in 15 moves like this? This guy was so embarrassed in this game. He was so badly beaten, so he should probably think about switching to bowling or cricket. So this is a nice game. I like it a lot, and that really look great for black. And now we just have to look what happens when they play objectively the best variation. I found many top GMs who were faced with a Traxler Gambit. They just had to go with bishop f7. And you just have to satisfy yourself winning the pawn and not winning rook, piece, and couple more pieces. So bishop f7, king goes to e7. Why do you have to go with the king on e7? This is a very important approach in this gambit. Because afterwards, you'd like to put your rook on f8. And you'd like to take some control of the f-file and go after the potentially weak f2 pawn. So they have two moves, bishop d5 and bishop e3. I chose two games. I chose the game that was played by older GM. I'm not sure. I believe at that time it was Czechoslovakia, but I believe it's from that country. And another game that is going to be like the highlight game of this video. That's a game of who else but Alexei Shirov. Alexei Shirov, he was considered to be one of the most attractive players last 40 years in chess, and he's the guy who was student of big Mikhail Tal. So king e7. You now threaten h6 to remove the knight and to win the bishop. So they have to move the bishop. The real question is where? On d5 or on b3? I'll show you first the game when the bishop goes on b3 and threatens knight f7. I told my students, play like this when you're white. Take the pawn by bishop and put the bishop back. But it's not enough. They go rook f8. At the moment, black threatens bishop takes f2 followed by knight e4. They have to go castles. You go d6. At the moment, black threatens bishop g4 because f3 is impossible. And after h3, to stop bishop g4, now I especially like this plan. h6, knight f3. In this game, this grandmaster played g5, followed by g4, which looks crazy. That's very creative, and it definitely should give you like better prospects to attack on the king side and to be able to go with all these type of ideas in this type of games. But I analyzed this and I came up with conclusion that instead of g5, knight e4 should happen. And when they play d3, one completely crazy move, and you can't come up with these things without checking computers, it's knight d4. It's fantastic, and this is why I said in the beginning, this video is also for not 2000, but even for FMs and IMs can learn a lot from these moves and these analysis. So when they take on d4, knight f2. It's crazy. Game is completely insane with, in my opinion, in many variations, better prospects for black. Because it's all about the king on white's king, and all the time we're just playing around it. Let me just show you this game. The guy played g5. He didn't play this knight e4, what I just showed you. And after knight c3, played g4. You can't take, of course, because bishop would take and pin this knight, and they would have lots of difficulties along the diagonal, and the queen on d1 would be weak. So knight h4 threatens very obvious check. Queen e8. Queen wants to go on h5. Also stops the knight g6. d4. At a cost of a pawn, he opens up this bishop. Knight takes d4. Just like you realized so far, you could have seen that. We're very happy to include this knight into attack and play knight e4. They play knight f5. Knight takes f5 and take on h3. g4 happened in the game. Rook g8 threatened the pawn on g4. Knight e5, knight e5, bishop d5, took on f5. Sacrificed another rook, and after queen g8, threatened the pawn on g4. After king h2, bishop g4, f3, played here, threatened mate in 1, cannot play rook g1 because of this bishop on c5, played queen e2, and one more great tactical shot, and he couldn't save the rook, he couldn't save the queen g2 mate, and resigned the game. I very much like this game. There are certainly some improvements for white, but not like anything that's special. And finally, bishop d5. Bishop d5. Right now we're just going to check the last game of this video, game that was played by Alexei Shirov, one of the most creative players nowadays in chess. After rook f8, so you do not only threaten bishop f2 now, followed by knight e5, but you also stop knight f7, because we're always happy to give up rook for 2 pieces. So they just go with rook f1. I analyzed castle, which seems to be very logical. You just go d6. And if somebody asked me, if you show us Traxler Gambit, everybody would have gone with that. What's so bad about this gambit? Probably this line. Castle for white, and after d6 to play some c3. c3 in order to sack the pawn and to play d4 to take advantage of the misplaced king on e7. But I analyzed some bishop g4. You can't play f3 because of this bishop. We've seen this idea many times during this lesson. And here, knight f3 doesn't scare me, because we can, even in the worst case scenario, play knight h5 and go after this, and now they have lots of difficulties. But the problem is they go queen e1. They go queen e1, and after h6, d4. There is also one more problem for whites to play like this. I just showed you what's the best for white. But do you know how much you have to know how you have to be strong in order to find all these moves by white? So that's why I'm saying Traxler Gambit in the hands of a great player, great tactician, is one of the most dangerous weapons in these e4, e5 openings. After e takes d4, bishop c6, b takes c6, e5, and this is what makes this variation like so difficult for white. But even now, black is not lost. It's still like possible to fight and to play. It's better for white, but nothing winning, nothing that special. It's still playable. But just like I told you, if you were wondering what's like so good for white, this is the line. And let me just show you Shirov's game. This guy didn't want to play castle. He played rook to f1. By the way, don't forget, Igor Efimov, another GM, had white pieces. And he lost in 7 moves from now. Shirov played queen e8, which is like so typical because your queen usually ends up on g6 in these positions. Knight c3, d6, in order to open up this bishop. h3 to stop the ideas with bishop g4, knight g4. Queen g6 threatened the knight. d3 defending and plays h6. Knight f3 and plays queen g2. Threatens nothing at the moment, but bishop h3. Knight h4. Looks like the queen is threatened. And here you can once again stop the video and try to find tactics. Tactics is bishop f2. And after rook takes f2, you just go queen g1. You can't play king e2 because of knight d4. The mate is gonna happen after this. Knight g4, this one, and checkmate. That's one mate. And if rook f1, Shirov went with queen g3. Efimov played king d2, and Shirov played queen g5. Who would say this game was played in Gauzdal back to 1991? I like it a lot, and with this game, we're just going to finish this Traxler Gambit examination. Hope you enjoyed this lecture. Hope you're gonna enjoy like this whole new chapter about gambits, and hope you'll subscribe more, definitely donate more, and continue to like my channel. Bye bye and thank you.